Asian chicken rice in Singapore is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why
sure.
you guys can't say that Singapore's chicken rice is bad, because it's essentially by Malaysia.
But only the ones that are by Malaysia.
Nah, they're mostly by Malaysia. Mostly. Mostly.
Okay. Yeah. No comment.
No comment.
You know what? Drops is started right now. Smart Omega going up against
I love
Rebel in
this
Esports. You know, we do see Loi, Arlet, Chip, as well as Ling Ban. What's the priority here?
Chicken rice.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
You guys are hungry, aren't you?
I am.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
We're
Yeah.
hungry for some good games.
We've
That's the
literally
way.
painted pictures of a cockroach. We've now painted pictures of food on people who's watching on B stream.
I think one of those is way better than the other.
Oh, cockroach, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring ourselves back on track here as we are previewing all of the bans that is currently available for both of these teams. With Loi, as well as Arlet and Ruby. Has been banned. Ling and Chip has been thrown in as well. Jusin is not in yet. Hayabusa, Fanny, they are all available too.
Yeah, very
what's your command?
different approach than what we've seen, because Arlet and Ruby are not typically heroes you would
Ban-worthy,
expect to be banned like right off the bat. Like
Yeah.
you might ban it maybe in the second game when you realize
Second
this
phase,
is
that
kind of a problem in
Yeah.
game number 1, but not this early on. So clearly Omega know something we don't here, and they will start off by grabbing that Moskov.
This is something that I like about Jome, right? Like Jome's playstyle has always been positioning and very, very micro precision in terms of
Okay.
playstyle. He's known for his V-tricks when he was competing in MPL Malaysia.
Oh.
And for him to play Harif in the previous game, it felt like it doesn't suit his usual poke and pull attack. Like now with Moskov as a priority, Jome is given tools that he is going to be within his strength. So I think I really like that finally he is going to be able to play what he's used to rather than forced to play Harif.
Look, I kind of had enough of this Zask pick. I'm kind of done with this. Where is the variety? Where's the Loi, the Valentina, the Faramis, the Fasa?
Hey,
It's
times
not like
have changed, man.
Technically we've seen those for a long time too, right?
yes, but it's not like they are out
Hey,
of the meta.
At least it's not for 2 years Martis Fredrin.
Fair. Okay, fair.
Like,
I'll give it to you.
and Zaz is barely even a month. You're already sick of it.
I'm already bashing it.
What about Fredrin, Martis, and Faramis for 2.5 years?
Well, they are fun to play with. Zaz is let
you
me
know
just
what?
pop.
I can
this-
actually kind of get behind that.
right.
It's like, at least you're doing something.
At least you are doing something.
Zaz just plops down whatever that is.
Let me be right back in 5 seconds. I will come back to my devices later. The kind of thing.
I thought he goes inside.
Yeah, you go inside. You go inside the Dominators. No, in your nightmare spawn, and then you just wait there. You just-
And then he comes outside.
yes.
Zaz is what happens if MLBB becomes an idle game.
Oh, yep. More or less, yes. So, okay, so right now, what we have here is the Zask, the Terizla, and the Claude. We haven't really quite seen a lot of Claude, especially since Harif is actually still available right now. So
Yeah.
it kind of seems as though Rebellion Esports is kind of posturing up for an ultra late game, when an end game scenario.
I do kind of like the Claude though, because we
Okay.
saw earlier with Geekfam versus RSG, when you have a Moskov versus Harif, no matter how well the Harif does early on, unless like you snowball all the way to an early win, Moskov just outscales you in the late game, regardless. So rather than risk that, go for the Claude so that you can somewhat match in scaling.
So honestly, both teams, they can play in the end game.
Yes.
While they are not in the pressure to end in the early, because both of them, they have very relatively similar win conditions right now. Play and pave the way into the later stages of the game. But what exactly are we lacking? What are we missing out on? Both teams don't have a jungler yet.
Yeah, I think it comes down to whether or not how do they play their assassins properly, right? Do they want to prioritize on those assassins, or do they not want to? And so far, I feel like Smart Omega, they are in a prime position that it doesn't really matter what Andrew kind of plays, right? He can play Fanny, which unfortunately is banned, but it doesn't really matter because it feels like now Smart Omega is still playing around Jome, because whenever Jome is in the picture, you have to play around his strengths and making sure that he is going to be able to do his own thing. It's going to be the win condition. In this case, banning those Lolita pretty much ensures that Jome does not backfires and overheat to a point that he's gonna hurt his own teammates.
Okay. Now, back to whatever details or rather whatever information that I have regarding Rebellion Esports. I did mention the point whereby the Roma has constantly been playing. There we go. Been playing more of heroes that is, Romas that are more of. What's the term for that again? Sustained. Yes, sustained or enchanters.
Enchanters.
Yes,
yeah.
sustained or enchanters. So in this case, Minotaur pretty much fits the bill perfectly because we're looking at area denial, claiming the area, claiming zones, as well as a Claude. So Minotaur is definitely going to be one of the main things I would want to look out for from the side of Rebellion Esports. But what is left out for them? Do you think that they could potentially pick up a Tigre for themselves to play in that AoE area denial kind of thing again, or would you think that it's still going to be Enchanter supports coming in from Mathilda?
The priestess of primal lightning, your team, the hunter of all the
Well,
evil
I think
gods.
that answers
the
your
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in this situation, Rebellion Esports, right? They're just picking off S tier picks rather than kind of synergize with each other's wombo combo, right? Like they've got a lot of zone denial, but the biggest problem here is that where's the main damage going to be coming out? Because right now they have a lot of setups coming from Rebellion, but it comes down to Claude coming in being the finisher, and that's something that is very, very difficult to do, especially when if you're a Claude, you're trying to mirror the Moskov. And if you're doing that, how can you finish the fight if your teammates set up very, very nice? So that's going to be a big problem for Rebellion Esports. But I really like this Hylos pick up on Smart Omega. I really like this.
Now, the main thing that we want to see from Hylos is ultimately from the Ring of Retribution, right? Punishment. Ring of Punishment.
Yeah.
Whereby you slow their attack speed down.
Yeah.
This is what we want to see when it comes down to dealing with heroes that auto attacks a lot. To be fair, Claude, the Blazing Duet, annoying, right? But late stages of the game, you don't really rely on Blazing Duet all that much, do you?
I think Smart Omega is taking a different approach on how they understand the patch notes a little bit different, right? Like one of the first things as a tanker that really made a huge change in terms of itemization priority is that usually you get like Dominance Eyes and then Anti-Curas and yada yada. But nowadays, we've seen Thunderbelt as a priority. But you know what really works well for roamers with Thunderbelt? Clock of Destiny. So you get an early Clock of Destiny and Thunderbelt, especially for heroes like Hylos. Early game, they are going to struggle. But the moment you get towards the mid game, like the third item power spec, fourth item power spec, right? You will feel like Hylos is unkillable and it hurts so much.
Yeah, I think Hylos is one of those heroes where people in pubs, especially at high-level pubs, have actually been seeing quite a lot of it. It has a similar sort of rate of being complained about to Zask. Maybe a little less popular, not quite as popular as Zask, but there are a lot of people who swear by Hylos. Like, he's straight up very oppressive, even in the early game, because he can actually do more damage than a lot of people anticipate. And he is being put in the EXP lane here as well.
Interesting. Hylos is one of those heroes which appreciates the old Thunderbelt because it scales with HP, and the fact that Hylos have massive max HP by the end game's part. But you know what? I'm gonna leave all of that analysis and talking over to both of you boys as we are moving on to the very first game of the final series of today.
Well, thank you so much, Abstract here. We're going to be jumping straight into game here. It is going to be the final series for today. Rebellion Esports versus Smart Omega here. And having Rio on the Akai, it is going to be a little bit of a different approach here. Crowd control over burst. What do you think, Stafa?
I think it could be pretty effective because we see on the side of Rebellion, right, their team fight is actually pretty strong. They have NetherRealm, they have Glorious Pathway, they got a Grok on top of all of that. So having a way to really disrupt their positioning is going to be quite useful. What I worry about is whether or not it may end up being anti-synergy with Terizla and the as well.
Sorry, let's correct this. The team on the left is actually Smart Omega.
Oh wait, yeah, you're
and
right.
the team on the right is Rebellion Esports.
Okay, I was a bit confused for a moment, but yeah, basically reverse what I just said. Like, regardless, NetherRealm with Glorious Pathway with Grok is pretty strong team fight-wise, so having Akai to split up and control the fight somewhat with that heavy spin is going to be pretty effective, but they need to be careful that they don't end up pushing people out of penalty zone or the Nightmaric spawn.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think, it comes out. I want to see what Ryota's itemization is going to be looking like, right? Does he play a little bit safe here? Based on what I see here as well, Ryota actually rush the Elegant Gem. So that's going to be a very, very big factor, right? And we talk about changes when it comes to Elegant Gem. Last time is like, hey, every time you level up, you get mana regen. This time it's like, it is going to have a cooldown, but as long as either your mana or your HP is drops 50%, boom, you are gonna regenerate. But in this case, Hylos is able to utilize both the mana and HP because his spells depend on both bars.
Yeah, the changes to Thunderbelt and Clock of Destiny end up working well for him. And we can see down here a skirmish.
And, well, nothing happened here because it seems like Rebellion, they just don't really want to overcommit to this fight as well. Chakra going to be a little bit of trouble. He's a little bit close towards the level 4 here. He needs to be a little bit careful on how he approaches this fight because both the Romans going to be hitting their force at the same time. So nobody is going to be able to take advantage of that situation for now. Ryota going to try and buy time here. He's going to try and threaten Ryo as much as he can. Look at this, Ryo. He's going to take a little bit too much damage from Ryota. He's trying to challenge the fight, but he does have the Glorious Pathway Vengeance available, but he's taking so much damage. But does he die? The NetherRealm finally drops himself. He's trying to buy a little bit more time, but they don't seem to be able to find any kill here. Jom finally shows himself from the sidelines, and Rebellion, they lose Ryu, but Karth is going to be the next to fall as well. Ukir going to be able to finish him off, but it is an all-out brawl for both sides.
That's what you call a mess, basically. I think Smart Omega on the left did actually end up making a pretty smart play there by having Andoryu go for the buff to hit level 5 before Ryo, who was focusing the turtle the entire time, which meant that it was a lot easier to get that retreat timing. I don't think that Jom needed to die in that last fight. He probably stayed a little bit too long. But being able to get a kill very early on the enemy jungle, out of all things, is going to help a little bit on that Moskov to get scaled up.
Yeah, speaking of scaling back right now, because as of yet, Rebellion seems to be able to actually find a very, very good trade over Smart Omega, and that's something that I think it is going to be a little bit of a problem for Smart Omega, considering that they do have this high loss pickup, which I think he bought a lot of space, but they just couldn't find the initial setup, which is a big problem. But speaking of setups right now, here comes the Zaz. They are going to try and force a fight against Ukir. Suelo is going to be able to get out to safety.
Not too much happening here in the mid lane. As we know, Zaz has that get out of jail free card, so Suelo gonna be able to use it to get out quite easily. And this Zaz actually is a bit of a threat. He's already 2-0-1, so probably the most fed player on the side of a Rebellion. So we will need to see Smart Omega play quite wisely to make sure that they're not caught too long within the range of his damage.
Yeah, and as of now, I think it is going to be in a situation where they have to try and drag this out as long as they can, right? Like, Rebellion has a composition where they are looking up towards Matt to try and finish up fights. So the entire composition is designed to make space, make time, and be as disruptive as possible. Whereas Rebellion Esports, they are going to be trying to find pickoffs, which in this case has been a little bit difficult considering how Smart Omega is trying to scatter around all these fights.
Yeah, but they don't really need to force pickoffs either, because they do have a Claude and a Zaz to play around once you get into those late game stages, so they don't have to worry too much about damage. In fact, they probably want to be a bit more careful here, because the other side actually... Oh, hold on.
Oh boy, ODTZ getting pulled back here. He's forced Primal buff and go for the disengage. Meanwhile, Ryota still holding on to Glorious Pathway here. He's going to hold them off. About a 5-man penalty zone coming in from Karth to try and chain them out, but it is not going to be enough to clean the house here. The NetherRealm saves the day. They lose Chaknu, but the Dominator's Descent is there, and Karth looking to try and get a little bit more, but nice sidestep from Andoryu. Does he die though? Nope, he will survive with barely a HP, but Rebellion Esports, they are fighting back. They are bouncing back as well.
Yeah, that was actually a good timing on the Enhanced Sword for Andoryu to get out of there. But we can tell that... Oh, wow, even picking up Joe. In the top lane, Rebellion Esports claiming control over the map, wanting a little bit of vengeance for their last meeting in the previous days of the competition.
So much setup potential here. Matt just having one of the cleanest games thus far from the side of Rebellion Esports, and it is helping them so much here. And because of this, Matt, he's getting the space he needs, and this is huge because that's the game plan for Rebellion Esports. Whereas Smart Omega, I don't know, it feels like they're struggling to even, approach fights here. They're just reacting to whatever Rebellion Esports is throwing onto them.
And we have to note that although both teams have pretty good late game scaling, Smart Omega is actually a team that can make a little bit more happen early on because they have Grok, they have the Julian with the Fair Mist. They can play somewhat aggro here, though I suppose they are being respectful due to the fact that Rebellion does actually have a good amount of pickoff. The problem is, it's not just being respectful, it's the fact that they are already nearly 2k behind, 7 minutes in. So I gotta make sure that Jome is still able to farm somewhat safely, because this is going to be their main win condition once we get a little later in.
Playing around Jomes now, Cars now. Gonna be trying to clear off the minions as much as he can. He's got the body smith there, kind of sustain his way through, but the rest of Rebellion, do they want to punish Rio? The Doris pathway is gonna be expended as well, and Rio, he does have this heavy spin, but no, he doesn't want to commit. He'll just let it through. All right.
I think that's fine. They don't really need to forcefully go for a kill onto Ryota at this point, because I do unfortunately feel like Ryota's kind of run out of the early game window where he can actually make something happen. He wants to play for that 2-3 item spike now before he becomes, as you put earlier, a bit of an unkillable obstacle in the path of his opponent. So they don't have to worry too much about him for now. They're going to still continue focusing on making sure that Jome doesn't farm safely while also maintaining control over neutral objectives.
Well, he didn't opt to go for the Clock of Destiny nor the Thunder Belt, so that's going to be a little bit of a problem for him because he hasn't completed a full item build. And because of this, Rebellion Esports will be able to take this Lord very, very easily in the hands. And Smart Omega, just no response at all.
Things are looking a little bit dicey. It's definitely not over. Like, despite the advantage that Rebellion has, Smart Omega is still in a perfectly okay position as long as, again, they're able to enable Jome as their late game scaling. And if they're able to get more items under the belt of Ryota and Ukir as well, their late game team fighting is still going to be pretty solid overall as long as they're able to bait out resources and time engagements correctly.
Yeah, and this is going to be a little bit of a interesting factor here, considering the fact that now Smart Omega is playing a very similar playstyle. But oh wait, hold that thought. The fight comes in, Dominators descend. Okay, he's going to be able to get out. So, wow, that was a scary moment for him.
Yeah, Nasuelu had already escaped from that before it was pulled in. Jome in some trouble, but I think he was able to escape, so not too much of a worry there. In terms of itemization, we can see Matt quite ahead of Jome, nearly 2k ahead actually, already finished with his Trinity, while Jome is still looking to complete that final item there. Looks like he might even decide to go for a Wind of Nature.
Yeah, it is going to be tough here. Heavy spin going to be used in as well to try and catch onto his Ryota. And now he's going to try and buy a little bit more time. He's got the Vengeance, still holds it on a little bit more. He's healing himself with the Glorious Pathway, but I don't think it's going to be enough. But Auditizi taking some serious damage from the Enhanced Scythe here. And Anduryu, once again, Smart Omega is just giving away so much control from Rebellion Esports.
I do personally feel like some resources were wasted there. I don't think Heavy Spin needed to be used. I don't think Primal Wrath needed to be used, especially since Ryota was the one that they were trying to burst down. You didn't even have to use Vengeance. I think that Rebellion could have just exerted pressure and taken the tower without needing to commit too many abilities, because the likeliness of being able to finish off their high-lows is still a little bit low until Mac can get his 4th item.
Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of time coming from them, but Smart Omega, they're just making sure that Anduryu and Jome gets towards the late game, right? They lose out so much early game potential. They're just playing a little bit safe. They're not taking unnecessary risks unless they really have to. In this case, Chaknu in a little bit of trouble, forced to flicker out as well. Cars does see out a lot of members here. Does he commit to this fight? But it all comes down towards the waiting game as well. They're just not super just overcommitting, considering that how much setup that Rebellion Esports have.
This is a very different game from what we've been seeing of our series thus far today in day one, because basically every team here has been playing somewhat aggressively, right? We've been seeing mistakes being made, egos being checked, but Smart Omega is playing incredibly respectful and slow.
Well, when Jome comes in play, he's going to be the guy that goes with ego as well. He comes in with the spear. He is going to go in for the commitment as well. And now, Cars, he narrowly escapes RDTZ, also buying so much time. The amount of CCs coming in. Smart Omega, again, just can't seem to find a single kill. RDTZ pops the Primal Wrap. They want to re-engage, but guess what? Here it comes, the heavy spin. They found Ukir, and they won't catch him off guard. No Purify to actually get out to safety. And because of this, no Nether Realm, but of course,
He's just back.
He is just back.
That's fair miss for you. Like, that is actually a really nice target to catch, because if you don't have to deal with Nether Realm, you're basically guaranteed to win your team fights. But because of Aramis's passive, Uka just comes back right away, which means that Rebellion isn't actually able to secure the Lord for free or anything like that. But they still have plenty of resources outside of Heavy Spin. Ideally, though, they wait until the cooldown on that is back, because they do still want to use it if they can.
Yep, they're waiting for the right moment as well. Nightmare Spawn is just zoning them off. Everyone from Smart Omega is just so afraid to clear him off, and this is the problem in the early stages of the game. This Nightmare Spawn is just so much zone and space here. They finally commit the spells, but do they overcommit? Because Lord now getting melted down to his half HP. Ryota looking for the fight. Ukir looking to re-engage as well, but look at this, the flank. Andoryu, he wants to go in for the finish. Guardian's Pathway finally expanded as well to try and shove them away. Joel finds one, but guess what, man? It has to bail out of the fight. Forces are blazing to where Smart Omega pops the Nether Realm, disengages, but Joel's still fighting to try and mow them all down. He's looking for kills, but it seems like no one is going to get finished off as well. And Doryu getting caught all by himself. He thought he could burst the Lord, but instead, he will be picked apart by 4 players.
Smart Omega is playing way too afraid right now.
No,
they have the damage. They should be going for this. Look at that. They nearly took out Swalo. They need to be committing. They are costing lives by allowing Rebellion Esports to retreat and re-engage.
Now Jome, he's gonna make work with the tier 1 middle as well. So he's making a lot of space for the team. But the rest of Rebellion now in a little bit of trouble here as well. Chakdu with the 2-man wall charge. And now they will crumble. They finally commit. Rebellion disengages. And now Primal Wrath from RDTZ. They want to turn the fight. Chakdu will fall in the hands of the Dominators Ascend. And now, what? Huh?
He did miss that,
He missed the penalty zone, and Jome outclasses him. And Jome, what a clutch. And look at how split the fight is as well. Smart Omega finally focuses on towards the Lord.
They finally decided to go for the aggressive play, found a good angle, committed, and that is what I was looking for. The Lord falls into Smart Omega's hands, and we are now seeing a point in the game where Moscow's scaling is really kicking into effect. Yes, Moskov and Claude can somewhat match each other, but the way that the damage is done is very different, in which Matt has to commit to AoE in order to match the DPS output of Jome. Jome, he just needs to find someone and hit them with skewers.
Oof. Okay, let's talk about the housekeeping as well. Smart Omega didn't really clean up the house a little bit as well. Jome tried to clear it off, but at the same time, that's a small victory for Rebellion. They get a free tier 3 without just doing too much in that situation. And because of this, Smart Omega now, if they don't get a lot of advantage of this Lord, it is going to be a very, very tough game for them to close out game.
Logically speaking, with the lineup they have, with the items they've already completed, this should be at least 1 inhibitor, 2 ideally, potentially even 3 if they're able to catch Rebellion out. Because right now, Smart Omega have finally gained control over the map. They've been playing very safe, very disciplined, maybe kind of scared the whole game, but it has paid off. They're actually in the driver's seat now. I'm hoping that they use this as an opportunity to actually pressure rather than react.
Yeah, but now with the barriers coming in here, they are going to try and sync up the lanes here. Smart Omega going to try and finish up the fight, but again, Rebellion, it's up to Matt here. They need to close out something. They need to start a play here. Ukir in position for the Nether Realm. It comes down to the big catch as Swalo setting up the zone as well. Yes, he goes for the Dominant Descent, but gets immediately bursted down by Andoryu. The spear doesn't connect, but the Rebellion, they lose a tier 3, but that should be all.
Yeah, I think what we are seeing here is that Smart Omega is a team that only does the
Rio with the heavy spin, he catches two. He's gonna try and burst down Endurio. Netherrealm finally drops to try and turn the fight, but Rio is gonna go down. Now with the wall charge, catching one more with the crown coming in. Can he get out? Cars will be able to flicker out to safety. They lose one, but that's all. Oh, Smart Omega wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake there from Rio. His team wasn't really ready to follow him up.
Dominant's descent comes in. So RBL force a primer have to disengage, but they're just exchanging blows after blows, but nobody is getting that finisher.
You know, this reminds me a lot of some team's gameplay that I've seen before in the past that I'm personally not a big fan of, and it works very well. It's very effective from Smart Omega because they're basically playing as safe as possible. They are making sure to get like the maximum of what they feel is safe without risking anything, but it also results in like a very...
Is that team's
It's a bit boring.
Start with S?
Oh yes.
And they are already disbanded?
Oh yes.
Okay, we are on the same page.
Yes.
I agree. It's kind of like a snake and anaconda kind of wrapping around the victim, slowly choking them to death. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, because like, I don't blame him for... Hold on.
Oh, okay. You know, here comes penalty zone comes in from Cars. He is currently stuck as well, but this time he doesn't have a flicker, so he is gonna die. Meanwhile, Matt from the backlines tries to go for the blazing duet, instantly gets cancelled as well. RBL gonna be caught all by himself as Smart Omega picks up one, picks up two. They lose Andrew, but Jome is still alive. Dominator's Descent comes in. Suelo has to sacrifice the little alien to back out.
And we will see that Smart Omega just go for the retreat here. They might try to contest mid-inhibitor because they are 4v3.
Oh boy. Now tier 3 also gonna be falling here. Jome is gonna try and clean out as much as he can. He's poking everyone with those spears. Oh my god.
And this is why Moskov is so scary.
That is so annoying. Like, how do you deal with that? Like,
you ban Moskov. That's what a lot of the teams earlier in the day have been doing, and we've been seeing a little less of it here, and the teams are on the receiving end of why this hero is such a pain. And we can see now that even though the net worth difference is not that much, Smart Omega are being the more disciplined team overall. They're grouping together, they're making sure not to overextend, they're actually baiting Rebellion Esports to be the ones to make the first move.
yeah, but now Ryota is gonna tank his way towards HP, half HP on towards his health. Doesn't have a lot of sustains yet in terms of Skyguard and Helmet, but they are waiting for those backup plays. But Rio, he does scout out Endurio, but he's not going to be able to go in for the backspin coming in. But Cars now, they need to disengage. They're in trouble. Heavy Spin trying to buy a little bit more time. Ice Winter Crown comes in, but they need to get out. Glorious Pathway to try and slow them down as well. And a Smart Omega, they caught them out of position, and they are going to continue with the assault. Netherrealm trying to extend the fight, buy a little bit more time. The Dominant Descent not going to be able to pick anyone apart. Finally gets taken down by Jome. And because of this, Smart Omega, they get away with murder. They get away with murder. As Cars, the only one that has fallen in this entire skirmish.
This is gonna be a bit of a slow burn, but Smart Omega are taking steps, small steps, but definite steps to victory. They are able to get another Lord. You can see their positioning is pretty good. They're able to catch out Rebellion whenever any of their members are a little bit too far out.
Oh boy, here he comes. The spear comes with the back lines, but they do find RBL. They stop the exit with the Grok block as well, and Rebellion, they just can't seem to escape this. And now they use the heavy spin, but it doesn't matter. The damage is too much. Rebellion, they're still trying to clear off the minions here, but Smart Omega, they've got so much CCs. Jome is still healthy. Netherrealm comes in. They're focusing on the crystal, and they will take game one. Smart Omega tactically winning the game.
I think tactically is exactly the way to describe it. They made sure that their strategy was already known from the beginning, made sure not to take any risky steps, and bait the opponent into making mistakes that they themselves could take advantage of.